All right, Sunday evening. Kind of wanted to try out my little tripod. Show you guys, anyone that's gonna see this, the reality of having a little plot like this. It is very overgrown. This is our row of garlics, and we're gonna pull some weeds. We got after these onions, they're in pretty decent shape. And I really just ate a huge dinner, so I wanted to burn off some of those. Not really burn off, but some movement after a big dinner is really nice for digestion. So if I can, before the bugs come out, which is really soon, see if we can at least get this one row done. And I really just wanted to see if it was a lot more comfortable using like a proper tripod and not just like little flimsy ones that I have been up to this point. I have to be careful not to destroy these garlics. But yeah, it was a pretty productive day. In the morning we went and acquired spring water, which was really nice. We should be good for about 2 or 3 weeks. It's Sunday, so day off. Then we prepared some meat for today's dinner and tomorrow's dinner. Tomorrow we have our day off. We usually have Sunday and Monday off. So tomorrow, me and my friend, we're gonna drive to get to a place that's like an hour and a half away where I get my venison, and I'll probably stock up for the next month and a half. So I convinced my friend to come along so that we can split the gas. So that's nice. So after I got my spring water, I cooked dinner for today and tomorrow. Then I prepared the rest of my apples for applesauce, which is now in the oven, and I'm gonna put into jars shortly, right after I finish this. Then I went for about a almost 11-kilometer run in the woods, which was really nice. Slow pace, but really good heart rate. We ran like a 640 minute per kilometer pace with a heart rate of like 130. I believe it was 138 or 139, which is really nice. Lots of incline on this trail. It's a pretty technical trail, so I was pretty happy with that. Then we hit the sauna. Then we actually stopped by our work to water plants. Then we hit the sauna for a quick session. Came back, ate dinner, and here we are. Oh yeah, and also after we prepped those apples in the morning, we cleaned the house. So we vacuumed and cleaned the kitchen. And it's a pretty productive day. I'm pretty happy with that. Let me see if I can bring this a little closer. It's quite nice having this tripod. Where were we? We're trying out a new sort of meditation thing right now. So right now we're doing like about 40 minutes of meditation in the morning. And I'm trying out this whole heart breathing thing I learned about, where basically every time you take your in-breath, you picture that you're breathing in the loving energy of the universe, which heals you. So any ailments you might have, you kind of picture that that's what's happening. And then as you exhale that same loving energy of the universe for anyone else that's out there that might require it. And that's pretty much it. It's called heart breathing. And it's supposed to be a very rewarding practice in terms of just feeling good after. And it's something I want to try out for a while. I have my own intentions for why I'm doing it. And also, I'm going to try to get back to doing, I don't know if I'm going to do that now in the meantime, because I also do an evening meditation. But I want to get back to trying out some of Joe Dispenza's stuff. I really want to try out the blessing of the energy centers. It's quite nice now, because I changed up my meditations position. I used to force being in the lotus position, and now I just kind of sit up against my bed, so I can basically sit for as long as I want without my feet falling asleep, which was the problem in my previous position, which was me trying to force the lotus, because it's kind of like a sexy meditation position. But after about 20-25 minutes, my left foot would always fall asleep. So it would either force me to switch positions, putting my right foot forward, or I would just end my meditation then. But then I read from this lady, Angelisa Arian, who has a book on different meditation positions, that it's actually the preferred kind of most common position for most people when they meditate is actually either sitting up against their bed with their feet out, or just straight up in a chair. And that you gotta sit in like a monk or a Indian yogi in order to make some sort of meditation progress. That's really just a myth. It's a kind of like a dogma, a stereotype almost, that people attach with meditation. But it's really not necessary in any way to have a fruitful, rewarding practice. So, since I can sit for longer now, might try out some. We ripped one of the onions. I'm sorry, friend. I'm gonna try out the blessing of the energy centers again, which is basically a meditation where you go through all the chakras, kind of breathing into them. It takes about 50 minutes, and it's supposed to be very rewarding and really good at kind of helping you connect with our chakra system. So this is super random talk, I realize, for someone that might be expecting just gardening, but you gotta think about something while pulling these weeds. And before you know it, we pulled the weeds out of a full row of garlic. Look at that. Let's do one more row before the bugs come out. Let's see if we can't finish off this row of onions. I don't know, maybe someone will find watching someone pull weeds relaxing. I don't know. My friend Agnieszka used to say this is her way of meditating. Pulling weeds, I mean. And I guess the bugs aren't really that out today because it's much warmer than the last time I did this. Last time I did this, I got absolutely, look at that. I got absolutely destroyed by like these little flies that basically sit in this stuff. Oh, they're starting to come out. But this is necessary work. So yeah, super random talk, I guess, for someone pulling weeds. But I don't mind. So very, very productive day off. I was hoping to maybe, the stuff I did in the morning with the apples took much longer than I expected. It's a pretty big batch. I'll probably get like 8 1-liter jars out of it, which will put me up to like 22, I believe, jars, which should last me for a while. I might acquire apples one more time and do one more batch. I get about 7 or 8 jars per batch. My last batch was actually a little more complicated because when I was kind of pasteurizing them, I do like normally 100 degrees, but it seemed like they weren't bubbling. I like to see a little bit of bubbling while they're pasteurizing, just a little bit. So I turned it up to like 120, and what ended up happening, sorry bud. And what ended up happening is after I came back after about an hour, the bunch of the applesauce had seeped out from under the lids, and it was all over like the tray in the oven that they were cooking on. And I took out a jar because I had the bright idea of trying to seal it a little more, the lid, so that it would kind of stop leaking out. And what happened is it released a cloud of vapor, steam, right onto my hand that I was trying to tighten the lid with, and it burned me pretty bad. And this was like right as I was going to bed, so I had to wrap my hand up, put some ointment on it. Bubbled up the next day, and I basically lost like two full jars to that batch. And what I had to end up doing was re-pour and clean all the jars basically had like caramelized apples on them, which would have rot while they were being stored for long-term storage. So I had to wash all the jars, re-pour it into the jars, repasteurize it, and then actually the second time around when I condensed it from 8 jars to 7, I came back after about 15 minutes and I saw that the whole tray was full of applesauce again, and I didn't really know why. And I reached in to pick out a jar, and the whole top of the jar separated from the bottom part, so there was a crack from the temperature change. The rest of the jar leaked out onto the tray, and I had to do the whole process again, basically wash the jars, reseal them, put them back in the oven, repasteurize it all, and out of 8 jars I had 6, and I had to eat basically. Luckily the tray, I had just washed it, so I felt pretty fine just eating right out of it, and I basically ate those 2 trays. Luckily I didn't get diarrhea or anything, because that's a lot of apples, 2 liters of applesauce. But yeah, that's how my last batch of applesauce went, which is more random talk for pulling weeds. Let me bring that in a little, but I don't mind talking about random shit. Whoops. So yeah, it's much more comfortable with like an actual tripod. My last tripod was technically a monopod, so it had like flat feet at the bottom, and it was really hard to set it down with uneven ground, because the butt of it would did I pull out an onion? The butt of it would always be kind of propped up on something. Yeah, I pulled out an onion or 2. So I'm really an amateur in this stuff. This is only my second time around doing this, and as far as I know, it's actually I'm getting pretty decent results for someone that has so little experience. I may or may not have grown some other plants in the past, which kind of gave me a heads up on the whole tomato plant growing thing, because the plants I was growing may or may not have been illegal. And kind of a lot of the approaches between growing plants that require a lot of finessing is a lot of cross training there, a lot of crossover knowledge. So I already had a decent amount of experience. That's why I had pretty good results in growing tomatoes last year. Wow, super random little beet thing here. Beet leaves. I guess some birds. Look at that. There's little beet leaves randomly growing between these onions. But the beets are all the way over there, which means either the wind blew some over or maybe a bird. I'm gonna leave them growing. Why not? Had a really random event yesterday, if anyone caught that short, where I came home from work and there was what seemed like an injured bird sitting on my shoes that I had left outside. And basically it sat there for the whole evening. Let me show you that beet plant. Beet leaves. Look at that. Super random. Little beet leaves. So yeah, and that bird basically just sat there all evening. Eventually kind of moved on. I tried to feed him, give him some water. This is a really satisfying part. Kind of getting this stuff out of here. I'm definitely going to have a little bit of losses. But from what I understand, you're better off having less onions, but properly de-weeded, than just simply leaving them to grow amongst the weeds, which is something I considered for the parsnips. But my friend said, yeah, you're better off pulling all the weeds and just growing bigger vegetables with what survives than kind of, look at that, leaving them just to grow amongst the weeds, because basically you're not going to get anything if you just leave it and let it grow amongst the weeds. Whoops. So I have my watch because I gotta go because it's getting late and I still have to throw all those apples into jars. It's 6:30 p.m. I kind of destroyed a lot of these. I hope they bounce back. What can you do? So I think I'm just gonna finish up this row. And we're gonna call it an evening. I'm pretty happy. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm pretty happy with today's work in terms of getting shit done. I'm gonna water this. Hopefully the water kind of soaks into the loose onions, because I kind of demolished a little bit of them. Man, I hope those guys bounce back. Look at that. They're fucking loose. Freaking. I'm trying not to swear as much. So we'll just kind of... Which one did we do? We did this row here, didn't we? We'll just rake some of this out. I wonder if this could be like a new form of ASMR. Someone just pulling weeds. I like ASMR. I like barbershop ASMR. Especially the Korean and Japanese ones. For some reason, I find that stuff really relaxing. Ah, man, these parsnips are getting destroyed. Come with me. It's much better with this tripod. All right, last little bit. Still have to go on our evening walk and try and be in bed by like no later than 9:30. I've been getting up pretty early. All right, pretty happy with that. So this is looking pretty decent. Look at that. This row is clean. We still have to do this row of onions. This row of carrots has been fairly cleaned. This row is parsnips, still needs to be cleaned. This row of parsnips still needs to be cleaned. This row of onions has been cleaned. This row of onions has been cleaned. These beets still need to be cleaned. So I guess we'll just set up our water and we'll call it a night in terms of gardening. So I don't have a proper thing for watering it. I just have one of these cheap little setups. Let's try and do this without damaging anything. That'll be somewhere around here. Let's see how that looks. Ah, fuck. God dang. A little bit of pressure on those. Alright. Hopefully most of these guys survive. And I guess that's that. Peace out. It was fun talking to myself.